think Apple learned a very interesting lesson in 2019. See, instead of the stupid obsession of thin and light impracticality that was clearly not selling, what the company did was finally listen to consumers. The iPhone 11 lineup is where it started. Cameras improved dramatically, batteries got larger, and all while the design got a subtle refinement that made them look fancier. The formula worked. I mean, iPhones are selling like hotcakes again, and that's even with the crazy premium for the Pro variants. Samsung, to a certain degree, reacted with a very similar formula. The Galaxy S20 and S20 Plus follow on the approach to the Dot, but then the company does something interesting. It knows there's a good batch of Android users we know as power users, those that join me in not just wanting better, but wanting the best. So for the rest of us, there's the Galaxy S20 Ultra. Theoretically, the iPhone 11 Pro Max is more designed to compete against the Galaxy S20 Plus, but what if we were to compare the best of Apple versus the best of Samsung and see which one comes on top? I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocketnow, and this is Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra versus iPhone 11 Pro Max, sponsored by Anker. Stick around to learn how you can win one of their awesome Powerline Plus 3 accessories. Let's see how unfair this comparison is. At the time of this video, the iPhone 11 Pro Max is $1,100 for a meager 64 gigabytes, while the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra starts at 128 gigabytes for $1,400. And sure, the storage is expandable, but let's be honest, if you're eyeing either of these two phones, price tag is not really something you care about unless you want to know where your money is maximized most. And sure, there is a $300 price difference between them. So the biggest question is, which approach is right for you? The Pro approach from the iPhone, where by its name this should be a phone made for professionals, or the Ultra approach of the Galaxy, where by its name this should be the most extreme smartphone ever. The design battle is an interesting one because if we were to select a winner based on looks and materials, the iPhone would win. Stainless steel is more durable than aluminum, and even if we don't have a rating for the iPhone's glass, having the same supplier makes it kind of obvious that there isn't much of a difference here. The matte finish on the 11 Pro Max also makes it less prone to fingerprints, while the Ultra's cosmic gray doesn't really help much. Samsung also had a good 6 months to come up with an improved stove design like Apple did, but nope. Instead, the Galaxy gets the crown for the largest and most intrusive module we've ever seen. Neither phone is in any way easy to handle, but the iPhone is slightly smaller in certain dimensions. It's 8mm shorter and around a millimeter thinner than the Galaxy, but then Samsung swings back with its design being narrower than the iPhone by 2mm, and I don't know what voodoo Samsung did here, but the Galaxy is also 4 grams lighter on its larger footprint. The tables turn dramatically as quick as we gaze at each phone from the front. I'm not going to call a winner in quality since Samsung makes both of these panels, and I'd even say that I drift more to Apple's warmer and brighter tuning, but in absolutely everything else, Samsung has a superior display, and it's not just about the size. Surely the Galaxy has a larger panel at 6.9 inches diagonal versus 6.5, but we also have less bezels, which leads to a 90% screen-to-body ratio versus 84. We have more resolution and better pixel density. There's also double the refresh rate if you stick to Full HD+, double the touch sensitivity, and the Ultra also supports HDR10 Plus versus HDR10. Size-wise, it's quite shocking to see that both devices have dual-firing speakers that are plenty loud. Still, there are some substantial differences. But sadly, neither phone has a headphone jack, and if we were to judge phone calls, I'd say I'd prefer the 11 Pro Max slightly as it has deeper sound in my opinion, but that's just me nitpicking. The Galaxy is just as great. Where most of your questions get answered regarding which phone gives you more for your money is when you compare internals. Each device has a great processor, whether you pick Apple's A13 Bionic or the Qualcomm Snapdragon 865, and each brings Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5, and both are IP68 water and dust resistant. But then the value scale tips completely towards Samsung. See, the Galaxy starts at 3 times more RAM. Double the storage, which is expandable, and from a future-proof perspective, the Galaxy S20 Ultra is not just 5G, but also capable of all flavors, so it doesn't really matter if you're on T-Mobile's low band, or Sprint's mid-band, or Verizon's crazy fast millimeter wave, which we've tested in the city. The Galaxy just smokes the iPhone from a connectivity perspective. You'd think that the Galaxy would take a major hit in endurance given all its specifications, but that's actually not the case. I mean, I've left 5G on since day one, and I've been using the screen at 120 Hz because why else would you pay so much money for this phone if you're going to switch that off? The results have been quite comparable to the 11 Pro Max. I mean, sure, this one gives me more battery, but I end the day with the Ultra just fine and then have enough juice to spare for the next day. To achieve this, Samsung fit the S20 Ultra with a battery that's more than 1,000 mAh larger than the one on the 11 Pro Max, and then offers Power Delivery 3 versus Power Delivery 2, which addresses charging speeds by giving you the option to top up at 45 watts versus only 18 watts on the iPhone. Now, might I remind you that all this is optional. Again, what you're getting in the box of the Galaxy is a 25-watt charger, and then in the case of Apple, it's 18 watts. And neither of these cables are actually what I'd call durable, and I really don't recommend that you pay the Apple or the Samsung tax. Instead, there are far more affordable solutions that are much more durable from today's sponsor, Anker. Since both phones support PD, I tried charging them simultaneously on Anker's 100-watt 4-port charging station, which was smart enough to deliver equal juice to each phone during my tests, and also power my MacBook Pro when I was done. Anker also makes far more durable USB-C to USB-C or to Lightning cables than what you get in the box. If you join me in not liking how terrible and dirty Apple's cable looks after just a few days, Anker's Powerline 3 is slimmer, far less expensive, and certified for 25,000 bends. And if you prefer something even more rugged, try my favorite, the Powerline Plus 3, which is braided to lift up to 175 pounds and supports up to 35,000 bends. Follow the link in the description below to learn why Anker does it best. The company is actually giving away 1,000 of their Powerline Plus 3 wires to 1,000 lucky winners. Learn more about that in the description as well. So yeah, if looks are your thing, then definitely I feel that the iPhone 11 Pro Max is the better option, but I do also feel that Samsung is giving you more than just $300 worth of hardware if you were to compare the spec sheet of this phone and this one. Now, I also feel that Samsung does software for larger displays better than Apple. I mean, Samsung has been doing split window multitasking since even before Android supported it, while Apple continues to be adamant to offer something better, even if this is not the company's first phablet. I'm not going to waste your time in calling iOS or One UI better, as this is a matter of taste. I'd say that iOS 13 does cater more to users looking for simplicity. Maybe my only complaint really is the lack of common sense in having some of the controls being at the top on such a large phone, even with the reachability gesture. One UI on top of Android 10 is the complete opposite, and I'd say Samsung's best implementation yet. Past versions just felt too sluggish, where the addition of the 120 Hz takes care of the problem and provides this added sense of fluidity as you move around the user interface. Probably the only thing that's not solved is software updates. Buying into a Galaxy does mean that you have to make peace with the fact that iPhone and Pixel users will always get their updates on day one. Still, I'm kind of biased because I feel the added value of One UI is worth it. Secure Folder is invaluable for me to keep my company accounts separate. I use Edge menus for app pairs on a daily basis to make more use of the canvas while I get things done. I love that the menu elements are mostly set to the bottom, and that there's even a logical back button for you to handle this phone with one hand. My personal favorite will always be One UI for its usability, but I don't blame you if iOS is your thing. Now, the biggest battle left is probably the most important one. The iPhone 11 Pro Max provided my favorite photos of 2019, and Samsung's claim to fame for this Galaxy S20 Ultra is that this phone is going to change photography. As such, the Galaxy brings just insane specifications. The 108 megapixel shooter is huge, not just in pixel count, but also in the size of the die versus the 12 megapixel on the 11 Pro Max. Same case with the 48 megapixel telephoto, where the die on the Galaxy is just massive. Heck, the 12 megapixel ultra wide on the Galaxy sports microns that are just this large is what the iPhone brings on its primary shooter. Obviously, the numbers are only part of the story. Software does a ton of the legwork, so it's really the results that matter, and that's where things get a little mixed. In most scenarios, you might notice that both devices are toe-to-toe in the way they handle color and dynamic range, with the iPhone only being slightly warmer. That said, there are things that I prefer about the iPhone, and then there are things that I prefer about the Galaxy. Like, for example, some of you might like how the iPhone is able to match the same color science across all focal lengths, where honestly, I prefer how the Galaxy behaves more like a camera and meters based on the subject, which sometimes leads to improved dynamic range. Some of you may like that the large sensor on the Galaxy produces some very natural depth of field, where I actually don't like how it's so sharp that it leaves half the subject out of focus if you're too close. But then Samsung's bet on going hard on various focal lengths does pay off. First, the company fixes its excessive distortion on the ultra-wide, which was never a problem on the iPhone. And also, Samsung's telephoto options provide some insane amount of detail up to 10x. These are all pretty usable photos in all cases, whereas the iPhone does produce 10x photos, but not with the quality of the Galaxy. This is more valuable at night, as Samsung's night mode works on all focal lengths, and even if zooming options get limited, you can get some crazy detail that makes any phone look bad. The iPhone is no slouch, pulling a lot of detail from the primary, but then it just completely falls apart with the telephoto, and then remember that night mode doesn't really work on the ultra-wide for the iPhone. That being said, while we're at it, forget about that 100x space zoom on the Galaxy. It's just useless. The photos are not really what I'd call photos. And then I have a really hard time in picking a favorite when it comes to portrait photos, as both offer good detail and flexibility. And I feel the same about selfies. I just wish that Apple didn't force you into a crop for selfie portraits. And then there's video. I like that both allow you to record in different focal lengths, even if Samsung's jump to 5x when zooming is really dumb. Apple has always been my favorite when it comes to how it handles color and dynamic range, but notice how the Galaxy is doing almost as good, even if a tad too sharpened for my taste. The Galaxy does swing hard with its 8K capabilities, at least in paper, but honestly, I'm just not a fan of the crop. I don't like how much it fumbles with focus, and then the warping only gets more intense, where, again, the iPhone only offers what it can do well. And then last but not least, I will say that I am mixed about selfie video, where both phones are just as capable, but I do prefer the iPhone's detail and crop, even if I do prefer Samsung's stabilization. To conclude, calling out a winner is actually tougher than expected. I mean, the iPhone 11 Pro Max wins when it comes to materials and design, but then the Galaxy S20 Ultra offers the best specifications that money can buy for a smartphone. I have a hard time calling out a winner in software because it's a matter of taste, but I do feel that Samsung offers more value for the user in its approach to One UI. And then the cameras are also tough because even if Samsung throws in all the specifications available in the market, I wouldn't say the phone changes photography. These are not that much better than what the iPhone offers. And then I do feel that the iPhone wins in certain minor aspects of video. So is the Galaxy S20 Ultra worth those $300? If you were to measure potential, I would say yes, because at the time of this video, I mean, the iPhone is already 6 months old. I really doubt that Apple is able to bring anything better than what we've already tested in this video. The Galaxy, on the other hand, is a different story. All the hardware is here, and I honestly feel Samsung just needs to tune the software a bit, and we do know that there is a major software update coming to address some of these issues. That, and also considering the fact that the Galaxy supports all flavors of 5G, and you know where this comparison is going. I mean, the iPhone 11 Pro Max is definitely my favorite iPhone ever, but if I had to pick one phone today that will last me for the next year or two, I'd say that the Galaxy S20 Ultra is probably a better bet. 5G may not be as popular today, but it continues to become more ubiquitous, and I'd rather invest so much money in the future and not really in the past. Which one would be your pick? Let us know in the comments down below, and while you're at it, also do not forget to participate in Anker's giveaway of 1,000 Powerline Plus 3 cables, out of which you could be one of the lucky winners. Also, make sure you follow us on social media, subscribe to our channel for more videos like this one. Also, follow me on my personal handles to see me test these phones around. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.